Thank you. I want to welcome everybody to DIR Shared Technology Services. Today is our webinar of the month, and this month we've been featuring Open Data Portal. So we'll get started with that right now. I want to welcome and introduce Ed Kelly. Ed Kelly's from DIR, and he is our data meister for DIR, or data chief, or something like that. Is that what your title is now?
Yeah, it's actually a statewide data coordinator.
That sounds impressive.
Yeah,
that looks good on a business card.
Yeah, it does.
That's excellent. All right, and Steve Murby, you want to introduce yourself with Tyler Technologies?
Sure. My name is Steve Murby, and I'm the local account executive that works with Tyler Data and Insights and Socrata platform based here in Austin.
Great. These two gentlemen will take us through the Open Data Portal. It should take us no more than about 30 minutes to go through, but we do have plenty of time to allow for questions. And then I'll go through some of the external portal and talk about what's coming next. All right? So let's get started. Ed or Steve, as you go.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. Great. Thanks, Neil. So again, this is Ed Kelly. I'm the statewide data coordinator. And the first slide is really just kind of an overview of the overall statewide data program itself. It's comprised of five focus areas: data management practices, data sharing, collaboration, of course, the Texas Open Data Portal, and data literacy. And each one of these focus areas have been evolving over the last 3.5 years. The one that when I came on board and started with DIR, the Texas Open Data was there. It was available and it was actually being utilized. So we've taken it and kind of grown it a little bit over the years and improved it. And we've also now have a contract directly with Socrata, and we're working with them on continuing to evolve and mature the overall program. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit of the evolution, and I'm just going to hit this really high level, but the portal was actually launched in 2014. We call that our version 1. And DIR was the first customer. We like to say that we'd like to eat our own donuts and try our new technology as we roll it out, before we roll it out to our customers. And then when I came on board, we wanted to look at an upgrade. So we looked at upgrading our main page and really requiring metadata tagging. Metadata helps us to provide a better search capability, identifying key terms and words that could help the user of the Open Data Portal find the information that they could more quickly and more efficiently. So that was the second version of the portal. And then when we entered into the new contract with Socrata in last year in 2018, it was a major change. And we actually migrated to a new platform, to the Socrata Connected Government Cloud. And this provided us with a new layer of opportunity and offering for our customers. I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming slide, but it really has, over the last few years, greatly increased in features and capability, and we'll talk about those. So the driving elements around the portal evolution were really three things. First was, and this was, I believe, 3 sessions ago, Senate Bill 701 required agencies to post high-value data sets of information on texas.gov, which was also connected with the Open Data Portal. So that was the very beginnings of the legislature kind of drawing focus around open data and pushing it out so that the data consumers could get to the information as quickly as possible. In 2015, the legislative session passed House Bill 1912, which actually created my position, the statewide data coordinator, with a focus on open data and government transparency, as well as those other 4 focus areas that I talked about earlier. And then last session, Senate Bill 79 was passed. And this is an important piece because it allowed state agencies to, again, direct public information requests to publicly accessible websites. So we like to say that this bill helps to focus more of an opportunity for agencies to put data on the Open Data Portal and to hopefully direct our customers to that portal for self-service, thus eliminating the normal process of a public information request. And several of our customers on the portal today have actually seen great advantages in this particular area. I'll give you an example. The Texas Parks and Wildlife has boat registration information out on the portal. Their CIO reported to me they used to do 65 individual public information requests per month on this data, and now they're doing less than 5. So effectively, those other 60, or probably even more, are now being done directly by accessing the public information through the Open Data Portal. And that greatly helps their IT staff, as well as their program staff, focus on other mission-critical functions of the agency. And also, the consumer of the data gets it faster and quicker than having to wait through the normal processing time for a portal, a public information request. Next page, please. So here's a kind of a picture of where we've been. So you can see in 2014, again, DIR, we started out placing data sets out there. We slowly grew in the next year, and now we're at a grand total of 550 data sets that have been published to the Open Data Portal. The other two metrics that we measure are visits and downloads. A visit is somebody who just went out to take a look at a particular data set of interest. They may have created a specialized filtered view, which you are allowed to do. You basically set up a profile, a name, password. And when you come back in, your filtered views have been saved to your particular profile. Right now, those community profiles, I think we're up over 4,000 people that have taken advantage of setting up their own individual profiles on the Open Data Portal. And then the other data set, or the other metric that we certainly manage is downloads. And those downloads are extremely valuable to us. They do represent a public information request that didn't have to go through that normal process. So next slide, please. Digging down a little bit into the detail, this is our utilization chart. We use this a lot in different ways. It is one of the presentations or the slides that I presented at the DIR board meetings. The first two customers you will see, Capital Metro and Denton County Transportation Authority, are kind of the outliers. Obviously, they're not a part of the government organization, but any DIR customer is allowed to leverage the Open Data Portal, to which Capital Metro and Denton County are. I do want to highlight Capital Metro for just 1 minute. You can see 279 million downloads. That's not an error. They have written an app to which they leverage the Open Data Portal by collecting GPS locator information on their buses. They upload that information every 45 seconds and then download it to a mobile app. So if you're a person that uses the transit system in the city of Austin and you use their mobile app, you're actually using the Open Data Portal to find out when your bus is going to arrive at your bus stop. And they've been quite happy with that. The other customers on our list are agencies that we have brought on board since the early pilot. A couple of highlights here. The Department of Family Protective Services has the most data sets at 341. Visits go to the comptroller with 141,000. And their information, obviously, there's a lot of tax information that is actually queried. They actually use the Open Data Portal as a source to feed a lot of their customized web apps that they have in place on the comptroller's site. And then for downloads, we have 96,000 plus for the Department of Licensing and Regulation. They currently have 825,000 licenses that they manage and are available for viewing on the Open Data Portal. So each one of these customers has used it a little differently. And you can see the volumes that are going on there. But if you look at the agency totals, and this data was as of the end of the last quarter, we have 161,000 downloads. To me, even if you took half that number and said they were public information requests that were avoided, it's a substantial amount of opportunity cost time that an agency personnel, whether it be legal, their public information request coordinator, IT, or a program area, does not have to expend so that individuals can get what they need out of that agency's information. So we're very happy with the growth pattern we've been seeing. We're really excited about the opportunity and the new things that are coming with the Open Data Portal, and we hope that if you're interested in this, there's opportunity for you to engage with us with more conversation afterwards. The last slide I have is, again, a little picture of the portal as it is today. I mentioned this earlier that when we went into the new contract with Socrata, we added some additional functionality. So the upper cloud picture there, the Texas Open Data Portal, it's the public cloud. That's the one that's been in existence since 2014. Last year in 2018, we added that new layer, which is below, which is a Socrata Connected Government Cloud. And this is our closed data portal. That's what we're calling this. Essentially, it's a private instance that we set up for an agency. And in a situation where an agency wants to share data vertically, say between departments or divisions, this is a solution or an option that they can be able to leverage that and do analytics across the entire enterprise of that agency. If they want to share information with another agency, so right now we have several instances set up. DIR has an instance, Comptroller has an instance, the Department of Agriculture has an instance. But we could share data horizontally between them and effectively in a secure private mode as well. So that's one piece of the Socrata Connected Government Cloud. The last piece we're calling it is it's really a community presence, which is really more of a hybrid model on what I just discussed. But I use the example here of fraud detection. So obviously there's a number of agencies that do fraud detection and compliance out there. What if we had a way to be able to share data, say case file information, from those individuals who effectively are looking at fraud for their own particular mission of their agency? But if you look at fraud in the government space, if you're trying to defraud, say, the Workforce Commission for unemployment benefits, you're probably trying to defraud the government in another place, say in Medicare or Medicaid, or rather. So if we were to be able to bring together case file information and share that, we might be able to open up opportunities for new leads and be able to help increase the fraud prevention issues that we have going forward. So we're looking right now, the community presence is under consideration for the Texas Veteran Suicide Prevention Planning. We are working with the TexVet Group and Health and Human Services, and my analyst, Juliana Durker, and I have a demo and presentation for them on this community presence coming up in April. But that pretty much kind of wraps where we're at with the Open Data Portal, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Steve Murby, to talk a little bit about what they're thinking about for the longer term on developing and enhancing the portal capabilities.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Neil, for having us here. So when we look at the roadmap, when I say that term, I'm actually not looking at like an 18-month roadmap. But the things I'm talking about are things that are near horizon, committed to happening this year, or already being worked on. So when we look at what we're doing, we're focused on enabling each stakeholder within the SCGC platform that Ed mentioned. And so for planning purposes, we look at that, we kind of categorize these 3 different personas as data publishers, organizational and site administrators, and then data analysts and users. So that's kind of the 3 broad groups that we look at. So go ahead, Neil, to the next slide. So when we look at data publishers, for example, data ingress is a priority for us. And one of the things that we've been working on is just to make it easier to get data into the platform. Now, this is from a general user experience, just how they use the platform, interact with it, but also to make sure that the data, when they bring it into the platform, is in a shape that they can immediately begin to kind of glean insights out of it. So just make it easier for analysis and using the application. We're also going to invest in quite a few pre-built connectors. We can't kind of cover the whole spectrum on that one, but we can look for those common source systems that we see out there being used within agencies and departments, and go ahead and actually build those pre-built connectors in there. So it makes it easier to get data out of the system into our platform. And it also actually has additional benefit of allowing us to make it easier to do automated scheduling updates and things of that nature. We're going to be doing some work around transformations. We do have quite a few transformation functionalities within the platform, but we're also going to be doing some stuff that allows for more cleaning and validating of data to be done within our platform as far as transforms go. So that's kind of some of the functionality to look at for the data publishers. On the organizational and site administrators, what we're looking at is kind of really the improvements of the flow between SCGC sites. As we saw in an earlier slide, that we have these closed data portals, we have these agency presence, and one of the things that we want to do is make sure that the governance model fits within each organization, because they could be a little bit different. So we want to make sure that flexibility is there, focusing on that. Improved user management features. When we're talking about doing this and deploying it at the organizational level, we got to make it easier to kind of log those activities, enhance audit tracking, logging, things of that nature. Specifically, sharing data between sites. So getting data from an internal site to an internal site, making that a little bit easier, and then that's going to allow us to actually do some selective federation down the line, as opposed to not having to kind of do all or nothing on the federation side. We can kind of pick and choose a little bit. So that's a feature we're focusing on as well. When we move to the latter section for data analysts and users, what we're looking at, go ahead and move the slide, Neil. When we look at data analysts and users, we want to basically kind of look at increasing the insights and the speed at which those users arrive at those insights. So more dashboards that they can get into that have less white space. So if you look at this from maybe an executive insights or leadership perspective, the ability then to go to a landing page and get a lot of information quickly without having to go build widgets and things of that nature. We're also going to spend some time enhancing what we're doing on the visualization side right now. We're going to be adding some scatter plots, make it more efficient for the users to build some of those visualizations that we have right now, and all this rolls up to a lot more deeper or more robust dashboarding capability, which is going to be used by almost every persona that's using the platform. So that's kind of a snapshot of where we're looking at, call it in the next 3 to 6 months, short-term horizon. Those are some of the features we're focusing on.
And if I could just add in, Steve, one of the things we've talked about is that Texas and our office is very engaged with Socrata Tyler on making sure they're aware of what we're looking for as a state. And we've talked with some of our existing customers, and it would be nice if we had this feature. It would be nice if we could do this. So we're actually very engaged with them in helping to shape some of the road mapping things that they're doing, which we think will benefit not only Texas, but the other customers as well. There's an upcoming conference that the City of Austin and myself will be presenting at, talking about how each of us have been leveraging the Open Data Portal, the platform of Socrata, and the benefits to each. And the City of Austin's been using this for a little bit longer than us, and they've actually started to use metrics in reporting and dashboards to push that out for their city council. And it's been quite helpful in making sure all of the leadership for the city is aware of the levels of progress being made against the metrics for the city's individual departments. So we partner with them. We also partner with the City of Dallas. If you go out to our Open Data Portal, you'll see data sets from both of those groups. We're federated, so if you go to their site, you see state data, and if you come to our site, you see city data as well. So one other thing I wanted to mention, and just kind of before we wrap up our part of it, and take some questions if you have any. I mentioned earlier some of the legislative stuff that's happened to help kind of move the program along. And in this session, there are 2 bills that have been proposed that continue to further and strengthen the encouragement of leveraging the Open Data Portal. Senate Bill 819 was introduced by Senator Nelson's office, and it talks about the Open Data Portal. And also House Bill 1784, which was introduced by Representative Capriglione, that also has language in there. So if you're interested in reading that, you can go out there and see that. It also has a couple other pieces that are important to the data program. It also has pieces that kind of talk about the digital storage study that we did, which certainly has impact on the data side as well. So we're hoping if the leadership decides to pass those bills or some combination thereof, that it continues to help focus what we're looking to do here in offering this particular service. So I think that wraps us up, Neil. So.
Good, but I'm going to ask a few questions here that maybe others will want to be interested in as well. But Morali, can you instruct our attendees on how to ask a question? Morali, you there?
Maybe he dropped off.
I'll start with this then. As far as the Shared Technology Services, it rebranded in September 1st, or starting September 1st, and Texas.gov, as well as Open Data Portal, now became part of that umbrella, DIR Shared Technology Services. So the eligibility also changed. Not only was it state agencies and higher education, public universities, but it also now includes city governments, county governments, public school districts. And so all these groups are eligible to use Open Data Portal, correct?
Correct. Well, it's my understanding from our legal, because I did have the conversation around that, it's any DIR customer. So that's the specifics that I got from our general counsel. So it probably is.
It's that and more.
It's that and more,
yes,
that is eligible to leverage this particular service.
Okay, excellent. And the other question then, what does it take time-wise to set up a new data set? Or let's say I'm a new customer. I don't have an account yet, but I want to set up a data set. What does the time entail and what does it require?
Sure. So what typically happens, and I can give you historically, we get a request that comes in who someone wants to do or see a demo. What we would do on our end is put some test data out there. We would schedule some time with them. We would come show them how it works, walk them through that process. That's step one, I guess we'll call it. Step two is if the agency is interested in moving forward with this, there's kind of an administrative component to signing off on the IAC or ILC, which understands is just it's an agreement, an email acceptance of the terms. It's important to know that DIR does not own the content of this information, that the ownership of the data and how it's used and published is the responsibility of the agency. So that's what's outlined in that particular IAC and ILC. So that's an administrative step. The next step is giving access to the portal so that people can become familiar with it. So we always encourage kind of a little bit of a sandbox trial, get out there, see what it's, poke around a little bit on it. And then our data analyst and Open Data Portal administrator, Juliana, will set up kind of an educational profile for them. We leverage the Socrata educational platform, and we'll offer them some classes to take so they can then learn a little bit more about the portal and how to publish data. Then there's an onboarding process. So we get it all set up. We do a little bit more hand-holding, maybe get you started with the very first one, second one. It's a very intuitive process after you kind of learn about it. And then we do check-ins. We just make sure that you're doing okay with that process. For an average agency, it might take maybe, 2 weeks to kind of get familiar with that process and to master it maybe, 30, 45 days, depending on the individual and the resources that you have available. Publishing can be on a manual basis or it can be on an automated basis. So some agencies usually start off with manual publishing, and then they structure an automated publishing effort. The other thing we strongly encourage is that agencies who are publishing data to the Open Data Portal have and establish a data governance program. So data governance and management of information, regardless if it's public, should go through some process of approvals prior to publishing. That's up to the individual agency, but we do encourage it as a part of the overall, utilization of this program. Because once you hit public and you send it out, it is effectively available to the world.
It's hard to take it back.
It's hard to take it back. Yeah. And, we want to make sure that we put nothing out there that's embarrassing or was not meant to be put out there or whatever the case may be. So we strongly encourage a good process. We have encouraged a good data governance program process around that. Obviously, the proper training and education. And then, again, DIR, the Office of Statewide Data Program, we're here to help to be able to facilitate that process.
Excellent. So if I'm new, I want to do this, I could expect, if I get through legal quick enough, I can go 30 to 45 days and have my first data set up there. Let's say I have 2018, all the solar panel data that was generated for the state of Texas by day, and I want to post that. How much is that going to cost me?
Nothing. So this service is free to any DIR customer. DIR already has the contract. We pick up the cost for it, and the only cost is I'll call it the sweat equity of the individual agency in managing the process overall and having representative contact point to be the publisher and a backup for making sure that the information goes up there. And the other thing too is occasionally a data consumer will have a question about the data. And we don't know it at DIR. So they may reach out to us and we'll have to direct it to that contact point at the agency because we don't have the context around the data itself. We're just facilitating the process.
All right. So it sounds like it's an incredible return on investment when really it doesn't cost you anything other than the work it may have taken just to do it once or twice, as opposed to doing it in the case of, I think it was Texas Parks and Wildlife, 65 times a month.
Correct.
So awesome. Sounds like a great opportunity for those who are looking for not only something that's cost effective, but public facing.
Yep.
And as long as you put in your own data governance, you have your assurances established.
And the last thing too, Neil, is that the data that sits in the Open Data Portal can also be resident on the individual agency's website. So we have connectors that Steve mentioned earlier through API connection that allows you to have the data in both places. So if your citizen, whoever you serve wants to get the information through your website, they can do that. If they want to get the information through the Open Data Portal, they can get that. So that's another element to it as well. You don't have to keep it all underneath your siloed individual agency website. You can bring it out to the portal and share it.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. All right, I want to tell you a little bit more about the accessing more information or even requesting services. If you have visited, most of you probably have by now, seen the Shared Technology Services, our external portal. It's available out there to the public. Within this, in fact, that's a little copy of the home page. It has drill down capability so that you can see all the service offerings. And in fact, as you look at the service offerings, it's kind of listed here. And down in the lower right-hand column or right-hand part of the page, there's other services. We didn't have a better title for it. We put the Open Data Portal within that. So whether you use the home page, the jump menu over to the other services, it's going to take you to the Texas Open Data Portal. And you have like a one-pager of information. A lot of that was in our preceding emails the past month here in March to tell you about it. Now, the other thing, though, is it actually tells you to go to the Open Data Portal to see it for yourself within that information page. If you're interested in not just the Open Data Portal, but any other services that you have, that we have here at Shared Technology Services, you can use the pull-down menu and request for more information. This is, primarily for customers that do not have internal credentials yet. So if you're an existing customer and you don't have your credentials for the internal portal, you can use the external portal, and we'll be sure to help direct you to the people that can give you those credentials internally. However, you'll get more information as well by clicking on which of the services you want and filling out your information. The other thing I want to point out is, as Ed mentioned, the ILC and the IAC, the interagency agreement, IAC and the interlocal agreement contract. that is for customers outside of the state agency world. So you can look at the T's and C's on that and see if that this makes sense. It's probably a good idea to start that process, the legal process, while you're looking to see what services you can add. Naturally, we'll go to the T's and C's, it's level 2, but before you ever get invoiced for anything, and as we mentioned, ODP does not have any invoicing, you have a solution terms, which has a proposal and a cost estimate. So you can go through a lot of this information, talk to solution architects, figure out what the best solution is for your needs, and decide if that's really going to be cost effective for you before you ever have to take any action or build anything. The last thing I want to mention to everybody is the service offering a month. As we just closed up, or as we're closing up the month of March here for Open Data Portal, I want to announce that the month of April will be dedicated to the managed security services. AT&T is the provider for that, and they've got about 18 different services. I doubt if they have enough time to cover all of that in the next webinar in April, so we'll probably cut it in half, show you a little bit in April, and then a little bit in the following month. But managed security services will be on our agenda for the month of April. If you are already a subscriber, if you've already filled out this window and you're receiving our weekly emails, that's great. If you've got the webinar today that was invited from a calendar appointment, then you're already in the books. We're going to send you the next webinar appointment. Even if you aren't interested, you're going to get the invite. You can always decline or that kind of thing, and you can always unsubscribe if that's also what you need to do. But if you are interested in managed security services and you haven't already signed up for the email subscription, please use that little window there under the service request offerings. And once you put in that information, not only will you be assured of receiving the weekly emails, but you'll get the manually sent calendar appointment for the webinars each month. And once you've, like I said, once you've received that webinar appointment by calendar appointment, you don't need to resubscribe each month. All right, and I'll make that a little bit more clear in the as we redesign a little bit of our web page here as well. All right, and with that, I just wanted to thank Ed and Steve and Morale. If you're there, can you tell us, do we have any questions on the line? Because I'm not seeing anything here that was typed. I apologize if there's anyone out there with a question that we didn't get to, but we'll be sure to address anything. If you have it, please reach out to me there. My email, neilpierce@capgemini.com, as well as Ed and Steve is also there. But at this time, I guess we'll conclude the call. So thank you very much for your participation. Bye.
All right. Thank you.